Good morning and welcome to the Daily Cyber Briefing for Thursday, the 1st of May. I'm Stephen Ridgway. If you haven't patched your SonicWall Firewalls VPN devices, be aware there are now actively exploited. Those vulnerabilities are being actively exploited. There are exploits available. We're talking here about a handful of CVEs that were that certainly became publicly known earlier this year. They affect SMA 200, SMA 210, 400, 410, 500V devices running firmware version 10.2.1.14-75SV or later are the have been patched. Anything earlier than that considered to be vulnerable. Exploits, yep, are being currently thrown at those devices. God damn, I'm struggling with words today. Words. Excuse me. Right, yeah, patch. Okay, now here's something that I think is remarkably simple but equally quite clever in the way of an attack. So I would hope by now all of you are well aware that DNS can be used to do all sorts of things that are advantageous to an attacker. Mainly along the lines of, if you can control where you can control the device that is being used to resolve names, you can point names to anything you want to point them to, mainly other things that you control. By now, a lot of organizations, we've seen this finally after 15, 20 years of telling people to please pay attention to this, we're seeing a little bit more attention being paid to DNS queries, and certainly a certain amount of logging being invested into SIEM or security visibility tooling for analysis or assistance with triage later on. So something that perhaps gets less attention is that IPv6 runs, and now we all know it runs because it's kind of enabled by default on pretty much anything, but it generally just sits there doing nothing, doesn't it? Probably because most infrastructure admins have learnt to live in a world with somewhat restricted IPv4 addresses. We haven't actually run out of addresses, even though theoretically we've run out of addresses. Natting and so forth has punted the issue down the line, as it were, for a while. But IPv6 sits there as a solution to a problem that hasn't really hit us. I know it's used in carrier world extensively, and it's got its uses. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's less well understood. But it sits there running on most endpoint devices. It doesn't necessarily use DHCP in the way that you would use DHCP in an IPv4 world, but it does have the ability to suggest auto configuration of IPv6 settings, parameters to endpoint devices. So rather than using something like DHCP in order to give out default gateways and DNS servers and all the other things that DHCP does in the IPv4 world, IPv6, because all devices are kind of effectively routers. IPv6, the concept is that all of these addresses, there's no need for a concept of private addressing versus public addressing in the IPv6 world. So, devices behave as routers. Well, instead of using DHCP to do stuff like notify devices of where the default gateway is or what the DHCP servers are or whatever, in the IPv6 world, they use router advertisements, RA messages, which will send out, and the other side of it be used to accept IPv6 addresses from supported routers. So, to get to the crux of the message, the crux of the matter here, if your device is running IPv6, there's a tool that is being used, maliciously used, called Spellbinder, which abuses the router advertisement features of IPv6. So effectively sends out spoofed RA messages over the network, which triggers victim devices to accept new DNS servers and gateways. So gateways, so IPv6 gateways, but and an IPv6 DNS servers, both of which can be the Spellbinder server. Now, bearing in mind that IPv6 doesn't have the same concept of inside-outside that IPv4 does, due more to the lack of addressing rather than real good security architecture, frankly. This means that the Spellbinder device doesn't absolutely have to sit on the same network. Of course, it does make this whole attack easier if you have got a device on the same network as the victim, but whatever. It then means, and because they send out the RA messages continually, and they send them out to the address of FF02 : 1, which is basically an all nodes address. Your device will listen to that, and Windows machines at least, and possibly others as well, will use stateless address auto configuration, otherwise known as SLAC, and it certainly is, to set the default gateway, which in this case would be the Spellbinder device, and also to set the Spellbinder device to be used for DNS queries. So when your victim then queries for app updates, this is how this particular attack works, but it would do for anything else, but specifically for app updates, the DNS query goes to the attacker's Spellbinder device, which responds with an IP address of an attacker-controlled server that's providing spoofed updates containing malware. Okay, now just to make it even more clever, the victim's traffic can also be sent through the Spellbinder device, in which case that has the opportunity to check what's going on, to manipulate traffic in flight and so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So what can you do about this stuff? Well, firstly, I would say have a little think about, do you really want to be running endpoint devices, IPv6 on endpoint devices? I think probably the best way to avoid this particular compromise is to not use IPv6 where it isn't actually needed. If you are going to continue to use IPv6, then as a very minimum, you need to make sure that you've got visibility of your IPv6 traffic. Now, this is something we're still banging on about, and it's extraordinary that in 2025, most organizations still consider monitoring network traffic from a security perspective to be too much like hard work, creates too much data, can't be asked. So yeah, if you're in the can't be asked category and you get hacked and you could have seen it on network traffic, well, you deserve what you get. There we go. So make sure that you are also not only monitoring IPv4 traffic, you're also monitoring IPv6 traffic, because yes, you would be able to pick this stuff up. So yeah, interesting. Makes for good reading. It's an article in Bleeping Computer that sets out in sufficient detail to give a good understanding of what's happening with this, and we will link the article to the briefing. And then finally from me, a little bit of an update around WhatsApp. Just when you think it was safe to go back to using WhatsApp again, they confuse matters. So they're determined, WhatsApp devs are determined to shoehorn AI features into your messaging platform, whether you want them or not. There was a bit of a hoo-ha, a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, something like that, around the use of AI within WhatsApp. And one of the things about WhatsApp which people like is that it is end-to-end encrypted. I think it's still end-to-end encrypted even in the UK. Wonder how long that'll last. So hoofing in AI, things like let me write your messages for you. It's like there's nothing clever about any of this stuff. But of course, it meant that all your data was going off to WhatsApp servers to be processed somewhere, and people said, "Oi, that is not a particularly smart idea. It's not what we're using it for." So they went away. They had a little thing. They've come up with the whole concept of private processing, which they say is a new technology that enables users to utilize advanced AI features by offloading tasks to privacy-preserving cloud servers. Make of that what you will. If you've got privacy concerns around all this stuff, you can turn it off in advanced chat privacy feature settings in the app. Just be aware it's there. I don't know whether it's switched on by default, because certainly on the couple of devices I've had a look at, I can't find these settings, which means either it hasn't been rolled out to the UK yet, or the UK government has deemed it to be not in line with their desires to infiltrate everything that you do, and generally take an unnecessarily detailed view of what's going on in your life. So yeah, be aware, it's out there. It's better to make a conscious decision around whether you do or don't want this stuff, or what you do about it, than let either WhatsApp or frankly the UK government make those decisions for you. Right, that's all from me for today. Hope you have a good Thursday, hope you have a good start to the month, and I will speak to you all again tomorrow morning.